Well, back here in Middlebury, about to pick up one going to Bakersfield, a 25-foot Momentum. About to go ahead and get it hooked up. Kind of frustrated. I've been having an issue out of the truck. I can't figure out what it is. It runs great. It's just when you cut it off, it don't want to start back up. So, talk more about that later. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and get it hooked up. Been looking at hooking this up. Whoever did this, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna cut them zip ties off and re-zip tie all that stuff, because that way they got it pointed. These here are zip tied facing straight to the ground. So you don't want that crap dragging while you're going down the road. You don't necessarily want a hot cable sitting there rubbing the frame that far, even if it goes as generator, but whatever. I just don't care for it myself, so I have to tidy all this up before I can even hook my battery up. Got my hitch put together and got my saddle brackets on and tried to make something of that mess. But I just got it where my battery was set down in there flush against the angle, not sitting on all that. I just took my strap and went around all those wires to hold them together. That way they can't get loose blowing down the road. Not the neatest, not the prettiest, but I do believe it's functional. So now we'll go ahead and tighten these up. You don't want that to get loose blowing around and going down the road either. And always check underneath, make sure there's a bungee. If there's not, either take this off, put it in the back of the truck, or run your strap over top. I don't know if you guys ever seen this little trick right here. You hoop your cable over your striker up there, and that makes it where you're looking straight down on the trailer ball. Let's see what we got. Close enough. Further off on the other side of me over here, but I believe it'll still slip on. There it went. So I got it pulled out here where I could torque the lug nuts and check everything out. I noticed there was a light on the inside the camper, and what I did, immerse the disconnect, and you can see the light on over there now. Turn it off, light goes off. So, but other than that, all the lights are burning, all the tires look good, all the lug nuts seem tight. I believe we're good to go. And we just probably not gonna get very far tonight. We just see what we can do with it. So here we are in Effingham, Illinois. It is December the 8th, Thursday, December the 8th. I am not going to be able to deliver this until Monday, so I am in no big hurry whatsoever. The issue with the truck has been running for quite a while now, because the truck runs fine. The truck runs great. When you cut it off, sometimes it doesn't want to start back. There's a video that should have already came out about replacing the position 2 fuel pressure regulator, and we did that the other night. A good friend, Brandon, told me to his house. We changed it out, and I think it's an electrical gremlin. I think it's a broken wire or a bad pigtail on something somewhere, because it runs really good and you cut it off and it don't come back, and the only code that it has is that P2294. So if it had other codes like low fuel pressure or something like that, I was thinking there for a little while. I got to thinking on the fuel pump really hard, because I went to sleep in Sydney, Nebraska, and let it run the fuel down really low. I mean, down to where it was no range and low fuel. And I got to thinking that maybe I was sleeping when it happened, so it probably did that for about 4 hours. I'm thinking maybe that had something to do with it. But the more I got to thinking about it, the more different people I talked to, I feel like it's electrical.
If I can get it back home, I may pull the wiring harness off the old engine on top and change it over, or I may start off by replacing that pigtail. I really don't know. I wrap my brain into like spaghetti noodles trying to figure this out, and I'm just tired of thinking about it, so it's going to run pretty much indefinitely unless I have to cut it off until I get home, and I'm not worried about that. All right, check this guy out. That's a load. That is a long truck. But anyway, like I say, we're gonna get headed on toward Bakersfield and see about getting this one off, getting it back home. If I do cut it off, so far, yeah, I've cut it off many times, and most of the time it starts back, and when it doesn't start back, it does eventually start back. So I'm not stressing about it. Definitely not stressing about it anymore. If I had to cut it off, I cut it off. It's not a big deal. And then if I cut it off and it don't start back, it gives me a really good opportunity to figure out exactly what the problem is. Even though this is a really small camper, it was really affecting my fuel mileage. 6 miles a gallon. That's one thing you think about when you take a small camper is, well, it's small, it's light, I should get good fuel mileage, and in high wind, it really doesn't work out that way. Checking the wind on the windy app, it looked like, unfortunately, it's going to be this same wind all the way down to Oklahoma City. So I'm probably only going to Joplin tonight, but it looks like the wind actually gets a little worse once you get through Joplin, but I don't know, we'll see. It's doable, it's just killing the fuel mileage with the direction of the wind right now. So coming down 70, Google was saying I need to get off and take a detour. It want me around the service road. Well, I wound up getting a Garmin, I think it's a 710. I can't remember now, I had the box with me. 710 OTR 700 or something like that. Anyway, it was saying I needed to get off too, and then I saw the flashing lights and the traffic starting to back up, so I figured we'd give it a shot. So I'm kind of doing a review on this thing, which I got it from another driver. It's not sponsored by Garmin or anything like that. Just the other driver had gotten a new one, and I bought this one from him, and I'm kind of going to run it a little bit, kind of get a feel for it, figure out what it does, what it doesn't does, and all that stuff, and then I'll make a video on it. But I believe anybody around the roads like what we're doing, especially if you're towing anything, you need some kind of a trucker's GPS. Now, I've been running the roads for a long time, and I kind of know how to keep myself out of trouble, but just using Google Maps can mess you up really bad. I've actually talked about that in videos before in the past. Even if you're just pulling your own personal trailer, stuff like that, if you're going to a lot of unfamiliar places, and I don't necessarily felt like I needed a trucker's GPS because I go to the same places a whole lot and stuff like that. But it does give you a peace of mind to know when there is that it's going to put you on roads that don't have low overpasses and weight restrictions, stuff like that. So anyway, they both told me to go a different way, and I decided instead of following Google, I would follow this. That actually turned out pretty good. There was a line of traffic on the service road a mile long waiting to get turned back on 70 here. And there's no traffic coming in from 70 from behind me, so I say that was a good call. And that's
continue on I-70
plus for the Garmin. So the TA Truck Stops has bought out the Midwest Travel Plaza in Cuba, Missouri. And for right now, it still has Dottie's Restaurant in it. If you've never been in there, they used to have absolutely excellent food. One of the only restaurants I still know of that's got a smoking section if you're a smoker. And now it's starting to turn into a typical TA menu, but the food and the wait staff is still really good. Windy out. See the flag blowing around right there. I'm at the Joplin 44 Petro. I was going to go on down to the casino tonight, but I decided against it, and I'm going to go in and get a shower and just kind of get out of the truck for a little bit. I've not been feeling too good this evening, but I'm not gonna let the truck run the whole time. It's like 6:30, 7 o'clock, probably 7 o'clock. I'm gonna cut it off. We'll see if it fires back up. If it does, then either way, I mean, I haven't really done anything to it since it left me hanging at the rest area the other night. But there we go. Cut it off. And we'll give it just a few minutes, because a lot of times you cut it off, start it directly, immediately back up, it fires right back up. But I'm still leaning, the more I think about it, the more I'm still leaning toward a wiring issue. Not really sure, pigtail, whatever, on the fuel pressure regulator. I don't really feel like that's it, because I've wiggled it around and done everything else I can to it while I was trying to get it started. I've unplugged it, plugged it back in when it wouldn't start and all that. And I feel like just me tampering around with it, it would work. But after we changed the fuel rail, it worked good for, I don't know, a couple of days. And then it started acting up again. So maybe the way I've been around, maybe the wire broke inside of the wire, inside the insulation somewhere, and I just can't see it. And the way I was wiggling around on it, maybe that caused it to make connection. But anyway, right here in Joplin, if it is something and I need parts or something like that, I feel like I'm in a good place. Anyway, let's see what happens. Fired right back up. It is really, really windy out here. I just come out and get my shower, and we're gonna see if she'll, doors unlocked by that flag there. See what happens. Fired right up. You know, it's not, you know, I don't mind fixing stuff. I really don't, but electrical gremlins are the worst because you don't know what to fix. You know, I got an AUTEL. It has something to do with that position 2 regulator, but as far as I got. So anyway, I may let it run at night, I may not, and it is what it is. So I'm sitting here doing some editing, and I got to thinking there's something I wanted to show you guys. I'm making a separate video on this, but Christmas coming up, I'm gonna leave a link to this in the description. There's links to all the stuff in the description of the video. If you just click the title, the description will fall down. It'll show all the equipment that I use. I try to keep that list updated. Sometimes I slip, but I'll make sure and get in this video and put this in the description. So if you see back there, I got my shade up, right? So you can't see out the back glass. Now I'm gonna turn the interior lights off and flip the camera around. That is the Wolfbox 840S dash cam, rear view mirror, monitor, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. It's got a clock on it. I got it set to my home time. It tells you where it's recording or not. It does have a GPS built into it that I've just tucked into the headliner here. And you swipe it this way, you've got the front. You can scroll up and down. I thought that was pretty cool. So you just level it out to where I try to keep it where it gets right at the edge of that chrome strip. You go again, you can see front and back. David Cross had this in his truck. If you remember, not long ago I did the truck review on the Ford F350, and that's where I saw it. David actually bought this and sent it to me, which is awesome. Now I did go ahead and opt for the mount, so I took my OnStar mirror out and tossed it and put this in, and it hasn't affected anything having the OnStar unplugged. But even when I'm sleeping, it's recording front and back all the time, and I think that's awesome, because if somebody were to get back there and tamper with something, it'll be on the recording. Now, like I say, I do have a review video, an install and review video of this coming up. I just figured I'd give you guys a little sneak peek while I was sitting here thinking about it. And I may have said earlier, the GPS, I actually am buying this from David too. The GPS I'm using is the Garmin diesel OTR 700. And so far I'm loving it. I just have nowhere to put it. Now, that being said, I turned the lights back on, and that kind of got me a little messed up. Bullet point. did not make a mount for this truck, and they have just now came out with a mount for this truck. And if anyone has used the bullet point mount, it goes right here for the 17 through 19 Chevrolet or GM trucks. Let me know if you like it or not, because I'm thinking of ordering it. It's nearly $100 from what I saw, and I don't know a lot about bullet point stuff. I know it looks really good on the late model Chevys with the little cubby up there. It looks really good on the Fords and different things. The way it looks like it mounts up, I just don't see how it can be very stable. But I may be wrong. I may send them an email and see if they would want to work something out on doing a review video. But anyway, love the GPS so far. I mean, I've had trucker GPSs before in the past. I had the Ram McNally Overdrive Pro 8. I gave way too much for it. It was an overpriced piece of junk paperweight. Ram McNally had that thing more than I did, until finally I just quit using it. The maps are great. The device is horrible. I guess it was the first generation that came out and they didn't have the bugs worked out, but they did take it back. They replaced a bunch of batteries and did different things to it, but never got it right. You'd be driving down the road and it just go dead, you know. So this, so far, I haven't had anything to say about this. I will be doing a review on it at a later date and talking about it in my videos up until then. Because I think, especially if you've not been doing this job that long, Google Maps will get you in trouble. If you're loaded, Google Maps will get you in trouble. That you can mark that down. It's going to happen, you know. And this one, you can set it for the length, the height, the width, the whole 9 yards of the truck that you have, and it's no GPS is going to be guaranteed, but it's nice. And the reason that I wanted one, the main reason that I wanted one in general, because you guys watch my videos, I go nearly the same places over and over. But what I do like is whenever you're somewhere that you're not used to and you want to see how far are you from that next rest area, you can do that with this. How far am I from that next truck stop? You can do that from this. I haven't got all the buttons down on it yet, but I'm working on it. Got myself really familiarized with it because I don't like it being stuck to the windshield. I got to get it closer to me. So anyway, I think I'm done editing for the night, and I'm going to get some sleep. We'll get up in the morning and get after it again. Morning, guys. So I let the truck run all night last night, shut it off this morning, got out, put my shades up, walked around the trailer and took the trash out and all that good stuff. Now we're going to see if it'll fire back up. I think it will. I don't know why, but because it did leave me hanging pretty big at that rest area down there, so fired right up like new money. No codes in the edge. I checked them this morning before I cut it off, just to make sure it didn't have that P2294 code in it. Because if it did, I wouldn't have shut it off. But anyway, we're leaving Joplin and gonna meet a buddy in Amarillo and go to the Big Texan, I think, if he's still down there. And try to get on in New Mexico.
Well, here we are at the Big Texan Steakhouse. Just kind of checking it out. This gentleman over here, he done the Big Steak Challenge. They say it already got all the sides done. I don't see any steak, but a 72-ounce steak. If you need it, you get it for free. Boy, they are funneling folks in here right now. That's why I told Mr. Lim when we come in that there wasn't a whole lot of people in here for Saturday night, but boy, it's really starting to back down.
This was my first time having fried pickles where they fried the whole spear, and the steak definitely didn't disappoint.
Well, just came out of Big Texan Steakhouse, getting so neat. Cut it off again. Let's see if she's gonna start back for me. Hell, I think she's just being ornery all day long, ain't missed a lick, so hell, we'll see. Morning. So I did make it to the Route 66 casino over here last night in Albuquerque.
I am planning on coming this far. There was a couple of friends stopped at Klein's Corner, and I stopped in to see them, and I was going to stay there, but the truck had that message come up, cleaning exhaust filter, must continue driving. And the last time I saw that message come up on my truck was probably about, it's been a long time ago. It's been probably 2 years ago. So when it came up, I did want to run it through a cycle. I did have enough time barely left to get here, so I went ahead and came on over here. And I realized that my DPF, the truck's staying in regen. It regens, it drops down a little bit, it stops, and so I don't know, that may be another issue. But I have a theory on why the truck may be acting up, and I did cut it off this morning because Albuquerque is just right over that hill behind me. If something were to happen, there's a hotel in the parking lot, a casino in the parking lot with a restaurant, and there's food. I mean, there's parks right across the hill in Albuquerque, so either somebody will be passing through, or I can get an Uber or something like that if it didn't start. But what I'm thinking is going to be, it ain't going to require any parts, it's just going to be time. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and see if it'll start up this morning. It's only been cut off for about 45 minutes while I got up and caught my head and got everything ready to go this morning. And fired right up like new money. And here's my theory. Pop the hood and I'll show you guys. So here is the fuel pressure regulator that I replaced the other night. I replaced that whole rail from Brandon's house, and it did fine for a pretty good while. But on the ECM, I can't really see, so I'm gonna have to. There are 3 plugs right down through here. This last one right here, when I was putting it back on, now, I know how mine came, let's close this, get rid of some of that noise. I know how mine came off because I took it off. And I know how this one went back on because, well, I put it on. And the one that I took off was trying to get the sun out of y'all's eyes and mine. Alright, the one on my engine was really solid. It came right off. The one on this that was with this engine, when I bought the engine, it was laid up on top of the engine. It was part of the sensor harness. Now, there was 2 different wire harnesses that I noticed. One was at the top for sensors, injectors, stuff like that. The other one went around the bottom for your starter wires, your def injector, and your def tank, and came all the way around the front of the motor and went all the way back. The last plug on it was on a transfer case on the driver's side. I noticed when I pushed that up on there that it felt brittle. It didn't really feel solid like the other one. I'm wondering if when I pushed that up on there, if one of those pins didn't back out, and that would cause the open circuit. The open circuit that I'm getting, the fuel pressure regulator number 2 open circuit. So the last time that it didn't want to start, I popped the hood, and I had to research this. I didn't know that that's what that plug was even for. And I don't know everything about these trucks. I know barely enough to get me by, and I'm learning every day. So I took my hand and pushed against that plug and just pushed it in firmly, but I mean, I wasn't being violent with it at all. Just pushed it in, kind of wiggled it a little bit as I was putting firm pressure on it. The truck started up, and it's been starting fine ever since. So, I don't know. I'm anxious to get home and actually try to dig into it a little bit, but I don't want to dig into it on the road because you never know what that might lead into, and I just don't want to be in a cold parking lot with no heat. And, you know, there's a hotel there, but I don't want to get a hotel unless I have to. So anyway, I'm gonna stop at Milan, get me some breakfast and some fuel, and then I'll stop again in Kingman and refuel before I go into California. And then I'm 11 hours from Bakersfield, dead on it. So I'm thinking we may pull in their parking lot tonight. That way I'm there first thing in the morning to deliver. That's kind of the game plan for today. But for right now, Let's get the day started and see how things go. So I made it to Milan here at the Petro. And if you guys are wondering what that loud hum is in the background, for whatever reason, this thing has not been regenerating right. And it just started doing this just probably about the time I messed with that plug I was telling you guys about. So I'm wondering if that's an issue there too. But even when it goes through a regen, it's like it doesn't complete the regen. And then it starts over again. So I figured I would stop here and do a service regen on it. When I started it, it was at 130% on the set load, and now it's down to 22. And what it'll do, it hasn't been going down but to about 40%, then it kicks out of regen and kicks back in. And like I say, that could be another loose pin in the connector. A lot of people ask me, how do I get this to do this? It's the auto sync that I have plugged into the OBD2 port. I have a splitter on it for the Edge CTS3. But yeah, let it get through its regen here. It should be finished in about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll get fuel, get something to eat, get on down the road. Hopefully this gets it back on track where it can start regenerating on a regular frequency. But kind of anxious to get home and pull that plug off and inspect it and look and make sure there's nothing corroded or anything like that, but I'm not going to do it on the road unless I have to. So I got down to 11% and it's showing that it's kicking out of regen. The RPM started coming back down. It'll probably cut off right here, but you see the 10% right there, and you look over here, it's still going down. The other thing I did want to mention is if you're doing this with a Cfarmeronyt, I don't know if you can tell, but my camper's kicked at an angle, and there's nothing anywhere close to that pipe over there because that air coming out is extremely hot. And that's what it's been doing. As soon as it went all the way down to 2%, and as soon as it started kicking out, it went on back up to 68%. So that's either, in my mind, that's either my DPF filter is stopping up, or that is, could possibly be those sensors not making good connection in that plug out there. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense either, because if it was losing connection to those sensors, I would think that it would not have just started. It wouldn't be so coincidental. But, or the DPF filter is just on its last leg. This thing has, the truck, not the engine, but the truck itself, with all the emissions and all that intact, has 16,762 hours on it. Now, when I bought the truck, I was really worried about idling the truck overnight and all that stuff. I'd heard the stories, but I just can't sleep in the truck if it's not running. So 16,762 hours, and I've replaced a couple of knock sensors and a def injector. I'm good with that. But anyway, I'm gonna try to find some of the Lucas DPF treatment, because there's some people, I had somebody in one of the videos says, oh, it's just snake oil, you waste your money on it. No, I've seen it work. I mean, I've seen it when it's having issues like this and I start running that stuff. And like on that force regen, you walk around and put your hand not right up against the pipe, but on out where you can feel the air blowing, and it's nothing, it's just air coming out. You just exhaust. After running a couple of doses of that stuff in there, you can feel, it feels like you're holding your hand up in front of a sandblaster. There's all kind of crap coming out of the exhaust, so that tells me that it's breaking it down, letting it clean. So I'm a firm believer in it, and there ain't nobody really changed my mind on that. I mean, I've seen it, literally seen it work, and seen where I was having DPF filter low flow at the DPF filter codes, and run a couple of bottles of that stuff through there and not have those codes come back until I quit running it. And then after I quit running it, it may be a month, it may be 2 months, it might be 2 weeks, then those codes start coming back. So that is something I try to stay on top of, but it's $74 a bottle, and I just don't care nothing about paying for that stuff at that price when I can get it cheaper in other places. So if you buy a truck stop, it's around $74. Get on Amazon, it's about 70 or 52. It's what gave it for it last time, but I ordered 2 bottles of it the last time I was on my way out to California, and it just now got to the house, so I don't know what's up with that. I guess holiday shipping or something, I don't know. Oh, I don't know what's up with this. I done moved to like 2 different pumps and finally got on this one, and this pump's not working right. We finally got it where it's pumping. So I've already put a pretty good dose of this stuff in there. That's probably a little better than half the bottle. And I'm gonna see if that helps me out any. That's worked out a lot better since I realized that I could hit the def and diesel both at the same time if I don't pull up hardly so far. Because there's still plenty of hose reach around. The only bad part is I'm too far away to use that pump over there so I can be filling my pickup tank and my auxiliary tank at the same time, but all good. So that hose will now reach right over to you. Alright, 94 gallons of diesel. And comes around right like that. I do need to give me a fender mat or something to put over there on that. 1.3 gallons of diff. I really hate how they got these lines here. I told the guy behind me, I said, it's my 3rd time trying to start this pump. It's being a pain in the butt. He said, oh, I'm not getting diesel anyway. Don't worry about it. If I wasn't getting diesel, I wouldn't be around here blocking the pumps up. So much troubles they're having, but to each their own, I guess. Oh, the other day I was going down 20 and check out, make sure you're not trying to back up because this place is a madhouse. But I was going down 20 and I moved from the right lane to the left lane. Nothing behind me, nothing around. And there was nothing around, so I moved on over to the left lane. I was going to make a left-hand turn about a mile, maybe 2. Anyway, get over there, some young kid jumps out in the right-hand lane, comes around, flipping me a bird. You know, like I'm impeding the left lane, get out of his way and all that stuff. And I motioned for him to pull over. I mean, we actually...
Turn right on Rising Boulevard, then take the first left.
Whenever I was catching up with him, he took off pretty good. But I did catch up with him, and I nicely motioned for him to pull over so we could talk about it, and he went on. I get it. I don't like people impeding the left lane either. I finna make a left-hand turn. If he had to deal with the stuff that goes on at these truck stops, his head would explode. It's funny how went in and got something to eat, got driving down the road, and since then it has been such a smooth day. Very enjoyable ride the rest of the day. I had a lot of times when I'm using the weight distribution on a camper, I'll leave the airbags completely deflated. I might run 8 pounds of air in them, just very little, and it seems to ride best and do best. And this thing's been dribbling me like a basketball ever since I left Delco or Middlebury. And at first I inched it up a little bit to see if that would help on the airbags, and then finally I forgot that I'd done this, but I just put 40 pounds of air in it, and that got it to where it wasn't so rough. You can give it a little bit of cushion to it, and that was fine. But then it started bouncing more. Anyway, I let it back down to like 30 pounds, let 10 off of it, riding so much better. So if you have airbags and you're going to use weight distribution, you got to just kind of play with it till you find that sweet spot, apparently. And don't get me wrong, by all means, I'm not saying the dang thing is riding good, because it's still riding rough. It's still, I would hate to know I bought this camper. It's just really not a very good riding camper. And I know that whenever you put a side-by-side or something like that in the back of it, it'll balance it out, make it ride better. I hear that. But of all of them that I pulled, I like this one the least. So that being said, I have I don't know, I'm thinking I'll make it over to the Loves in Bourne, California tonight. That'll be pushing my hours, or close on my hours. I should have plenty to get there, but not much further. Then I will have another hour and a half to Bakersfield, I think, in the morning. So all in, we should be to Bourne, California pretty early, and be able to leave out pretty early and get over there pretty early. So that'll work out pretty good. There it is, and it is delivered here at Happy Days RV in Bakersfield, California. And whole truck's still doing good. I need to let my airbags down. I've got all my tool stuff picked up, about to scan my paperwork in, and then I'm gonna get back with you guys once I get out of their way. I'm also taking another driver to an Amtrak station, dropping them off. They brought in, it wasn't that big motor coach behind me, it was the one that was right in front of me. So try to help them out. I mean, because you know, trying to find your way from one place to another without a truck, you know, it gets aggravating in itself too. Try to get y'all some scenery coming out of California. It's out here around mile marker 70-ish on 40 in California, and it is absolutely gorgeous through here. This guy right here in front of me though, pulling he got the van on the trailer, he's having a bad day. He was sitting on the shoulder back there, and when I passed by I see him sitting there, and I wouldn't want to be broke down out here, so I made a U-turn, went back, and then come back up front of him, and he had a radiator hose pop a hole in it. And I asked him, I said, so you think you got it fixed up? He says, I don't know. He said, I hope so. He said, there wasn't nothing I knew to do except for what I did. He said, I took some tire plugs and put into the hole in the radiator hose, because it was just a hole, I guess. It wasn't like split. And I didn't get to see it, or I would have definitely tried to get it on video for you guys, but we were on the side of the road and I didn't think to grab my phone. But he said he put 3 or 4 tire plugs in it and then took the hose completely off and wrapped it with duct tape. And he had it on skin tight where it looked like it's part of the hose. And I'm sitting here thinking this ain't gonna work. He's gonna take off, so as he gets moving, you know, it's gonna start gushing water. I'll be seeing steam before we get anywhere down the road. Guys, we've been about 45 miles. He's pulling the hills. He is babying it in the hills. When he hits the hill, he drops off real good. Slows way down. But as soon as we get over the hill, he shoots off the other side. I ain't really smelt no antifreeze or seen no steam or nothing like that. He must be all good. But I didn't know if anybody ever thought of or even heard of that, but I've never even thought or heard of anybody putting tire plugs in a radiator hose and then wrapping it with tape. So when I get home, I got some flex tape. I will be putting it in the truck, and I'll be checking to make sure I got plenty of tire plugs. So it is another day. I cannot believe that worked. I followed that gentleman almost all the way to Kingman, and I'm mind blown. I can't believe putting tire plugs in a radiator hose and wrapping it up with duct tape will get you out of the desert. But when you're stuck stranded in the middle of the desert, I guess you'll just try whatever you got. And that's what he had in the truck, and he already had it done when I got there. I gave him a couple gallons of water, or about 1.5 gallons of water I have with me, and that got him going. Like I said, I can't believe that worked. But in the first part of this video, I was extremely frustrated because the truck had left me hanging a couple of times. And I've nailed it down. I know what it is. It definitely isn't that plug on the ECM. When I get home across Christmas and New Year's break, I will be taking it apart and trying to figure out how to fix it so it doesn't leave me hanging anymore. You know, that's just aggravating when you got something that runs really good. It's always been a dependable vehicle, and then just out of the blue, it just don't start. That's very frustrating, and it really bent my mind up. But anyway, know what it is now. I'll fix it when I get home. I did get to meet another driver, the driveway driver, Miss Tanya. She was pretty cool. Glad I got to meet her and give her a ride to the Amtrak station to help her out. She was kind of, I've never really understood the whole driveway
thing, it just seemed like it would cost a fortune to get back, and she was showing me some tips and tricks to get back cheaper, you know, and I got pretty interested in that. And anyway, yeah, the rest of the trip, after I left Milan was frustrating itself. After I left there, it was a pretty good trip. So guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. If that video doesn't come out until after Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and I will see you again in the next video. Thank you so much.